Hi there, welcome back. We are talking about the task force recommendations put together by an independent task force looking at best practices for Head Start. We're talking with our guests, Catherine Hott and Shirley Green, who were members of that task force and spent the morning talking about the structure, spent the first segment, talking about the structure of the committee and the reason for the committee. And I'd like to talk to you now about some of the key elements or components of your recommendations. And one of the ones that I found particularly interesting, and I'm sure those who are involved in this discussion will as well, is your recommendations around program and pedagogy. Would one of you explain for our audience members who might not know what pedagogy is? Would you explain that to them?
You can jump in. Pedagogy is, I believe it comprises a number of things. It comprises the components. It's your belief system. It's what you believe should be a part of something, a pedagogy. It's a belief system, it's program components, and it's the delivery system of which you implement all of that.
It's basically philosophy of teaching.
And so the philosophy then, thank you for using that word, the philosophy of this report relative to that particular issue, Jonathan, if we could put that back up on the screen, please, is that the service gets delivered most effectively by utilizing highly qualified teachers. And the report describes that kind of teacher to be one with a bachelor's degree in early childhood. She is supported then by assistants who have associate's degrees, and then they are supervised by someone with a master's degree. Did I get that right?
Yes, you
did.
Yes.
Okay. And the reason for that in the models that you looked at, because our local model is a little different than that. Our local model is a little bit different than that. So on a national level, you found this to be most effective for what reasons?
The research backs up the fact that those are key components in a successful early childhood program, that you have lead teachers and educators that have a strong educational background in developmentally appropriate practices for preschool children, that you also have a very focused opportunity to build relationships with the child, parents, and family, and that part of the program with those trained people in the classrooms will be present. We also want parent helping parent piece to the program. We know that the research shows us in those programs that we studied that the parent mentoring parents is a key component to a successful Head Start program. So you want that person leading the educational program in the classroom with an early childhood background in order to ensure that the other components are there, including cultural diversity, awareness and sensitivity, as well as parents helping parents, that parent teaching parent component. We believe that the program identified in the model addresses all of those.
So are those specific skill sets contained in the curriculum for someone at a bachelor's level?
Yes.
Teaching?
Yes.
Yes. Those particular skill
Yes.
sets. Right now they are. And as I would assume that your position would have been, or that the position of the best practices that you looked at was that as teaching these kids and preparing these kids for school becomes more and more complex. The matters that have to be included in making them successful become more and more complex. The training required to provide that exposure need to be top level.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Part of the best practices also was a piece that allowed for coaching and mentoring for teachers in these settings as well, and a teacher development program that would assist helping teachers move from one level to the next. So that was also important as well.
Any other pieces in this particular aspect that you guys found?
One of the things that I think we all felt very strongly about was the ability to, as Shirley talked about, provide professional development for all involved in the Head Start program. And one of the things that we know and feel strongly about, and I think the model communicates that, is that ongoing progress monitoring. Knowing if we're meeting the goals that child needs. It's child-centered, so we want to know the child, we want to monitor their progress, and then provide whatever services, support, professional development for the teacher, extra support for the parent mentoring piece. It's there. But without monitoring the progress of the individual child, that becomes more difficult to do successfully, and we want that for that child. We need to know what they need, and then we need a program and a model that has easy access to provide that, whether it be within the program itself or through a referral system to community agencies and partnerships that can provide those services for the family and the child as we monitor that child's progress on what are key developmental issues.
What was also important was collaboration with university level programs that would assist in preparing these teachers to fulfill these roles.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
early childhood.
And both are so important because if you're going to measure outcomes, you have to monitor your program.
Right.
Absolutely.
You absolutely have to monitor your program. Community collaborations are very important, I think, in ensuring that you get the positive outcomes that you're looking for. And so unless there's a good, strong monitoring of what you're doing, you're not going to get the information that you need. One of the other aspects of the report that it seems to be inescapable anytime we talk about education is the parent, family, and community engagement piece of that, that was really present in those successful programs. And we found that, or your report states that, when you have a strong level of engagement with parents and families and communities, you get a healthier child and family. Absolutely goes without saying. The other thing that I thought was important is that you guys thought that it was important to provide on-site services for parents when access was a problem for those services. And again, this reoccurring theme of the importance of engaging in community partnerships.
Right. Making sure that we have sustainable community partnerships, that we don't start a program that lasts just for a year and then falls away. We need to ensure the families and to the parents that these services on site will be there for the long term.
One of the, and Shirley, well, because we loved this and we quoted it often when we worked on this, was one of the interviews that we had, and I think I spoke to the woman, one of the directors. Her words were deep and tight collaborative partnerships, deep and tight. Not necessarily many, but few that are sustainable. But she said, Kathy, you need to know they need to be deep and tight relationships in order to have a comprehensive program.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that it seems hard to imagine at this time that the community will set aside its differences on these issues and embrace this program as an entire community. But in cities where it works, that's exactly what they've done.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what they've done.
Absolutely. Sort of a blanket approach where they provide all these services based on the child and expanding out from the child to the parents, the family, and the community. And those are the successful programs.
Right. It's a non-political issue in most other places, at least on the surface. It's a non-political issue with the child at the center. That was pretty consistent in your findings, right?
It was. And the good news in the finding, and I think we all felt good about it, is that our community, Lucas County, has the ability to do that. We have wonderful agencies, we have wonderful resources. And I really believe, and I'm proud, and I think we all are, that this is a model to come together and make that happen, because it's not that we lack that at all. We have wonderful people.
This is a wonderfully resourced community. It really is. I say that all the time. There may be a problem with people understanding exactly what resources are available out there, but they are certainly available in this community.
Well, one of the committees that we had on the task force was the Community Access Committee, which is the one that I served on. And we reached out to different agencies in our community, and we were surprised at their willingness to come forward and help out, but the amount of services that are out there already. So I think we should not have difficulty putting together this comprehensive program.
Let's talk for a few minutes. We only have a few minutes left in the governance structure. And one of the things that I found particularly intriguing in this report was your recommendation that, again, comes from best practices around the country, and certainly in here in Ohio specifically, where the fiscal agent was different than the service provider. Can we talk about why you thought that was important? You're both sort of smiling at each other.
Well, Shirley, do you want to?
No, you can start now.
Pass that on.
Here's what we found. And again, we found this based on what's working for those models that we explored. Not even just beyond the ones that we focused really closely on, even with the ones we initially started looking at, the 2022, 24 models. What they found was simply this. The fiscal agent is part of a very connected governance structure. It doesn't sit out there by itself. It is separate from, in our organizational chart, it's separated because it provides a checks and balance. And they found that it has been much easier to lead change, get change approved, get dollars allocated into areas for the programs that best meet the needs of the child. It provided a much more streamlined flow of services by doing it that way. And the task, as we understood it, was to provide what we knew was best practice and research, and the governance structure that we proposed as part of our model reflected what we found. And when speaking to, and many of us did interviews for these models and all over the country, they were very strong in feeling that that governance structure was part of the reason they were able to implement systemic change with the resources to back up that, and again, that sustainability, and I don't think we can overemphasize that enough. What they said is this governance structure enabled them to put things into place that were good for families and children and be able to ensure that they could be sustained.
And
so we
accountable.
didn't start something, and the accountability, is huge.
was
the checks
huge.
and balances
Absolutely.
in this particular model that we recommended was validated by our interviews and research with the models we looked at.
Shirley?
And they were successful in at least 3 of the 20 that were designated by the National Office of Head Start as being excellent. So you're talking about the programs that run out of San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Tulsa.
That's
and
really big.
this is the
That's
type
huge.
of governance structure that they use there.
Yeah, one other thing, and it's more of a comment from me than soliciting response from you, but I noticed that you stated in your report that the federal grant provides only a portion of the funds needed, and whomever gets it is probably going to have to find a way to provide additional funds. And I also want to state that this is a flat allocation. It's not a per capita allocation. So it's not, the more kids you serve doesn't necessarily mean that you get any additional money. So that's got to be the last word from you guys. We don't have any more time. I'm so sorry. We've run out of time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Well,
Yes,
just
thank
don't go
you.
anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We're going to come right back. You get to look at them one more time. We'll be right back. Hang tight.